Today we are going to be looking at multi-step equations, and we are going to be using all of the skills that we have learned in the past two lessons on equations, one step and two step, and we're going to put them all together to solve these complicated equations. So to remind you, an equation is something that has an equal sign somewhere in the middle, and whenever we see that equal sign, we like to draw a wall. And for me, that wall helps me keep all of my equal signs lined up, which is important. And also, it reminds me that whenever something goes over the magic wall, it changes the operation. So if it was added to on one side, it's going to be subtracted on the other. If it was multiplied on one side, it's going to be divided. Also, if you recall, everything on the left-hand side is going to contain a variable or a letter, and everything on the right-hand side is going to contain a number. So using this information and what we know, we are going to try and solve this equation right here. Okay, so let's begin. Let's first analyze what we have. We have an 8x over here, which is in the right place, and then we have negative 4x over here, which is in the wrong place. So we are going to be moving the negative 4x over to this side. And then we have a positive 4, which is in the wrong place, and a negative 20, which is in the right place. So we're going to be moving the positive 4 over here. And when we're done doing all of that, our x's will be on the left-hand side, and our numbers are going to be on the right-hand side. All right, so let's begin. The 8x, like I said, is going to stay on this side because it's correct. And when I move this negative 4x over to the other side, the opposite operation is going to be adding it. So it's going to be plus 4x. I'm going to have my equal sign right under the equal sign in the equation. Negative 20 stays on this side. And then this positive 4 is going to move over here, and we're going to change the operation. So positive 4 is going to be subtracted 4. And now we are going to add like terms. So 8x and 4x are both like terms because they have the same variable that has the same exponent. So we can add those together. 8 plus 4 is going to give us 12x. Negative 20 minus 4, those are both constants, so we can add those up as well. And think back to your integer rules. When you have two numbers that have the same sign, we're going to add them together. So 20 plus 4 is going to be 24, and we're going to keep the sign, so that it's just going to be negative 24. You're going to remember this next part looks like our one-step equation. So 12x is equal to negative 24. We are going to think of this as 12 times x is equal to negative 24. And to get rid of that 12 that's attached to the x, we are going to be dividing both sides by 12 to get rid of it. 12 divided by 12 is 1x. You don't need to write the 1. Negative 24 divided by 12 is going to be negative 2. And so our final answer is going to be x is equal to negative 2. We have one more equation to do, and I tried to pick an equation that sort of had everything, because in order for you to get really, really good at these, you need to be able to solve something with a little bit of everything. This is the most complicated example we're going to look at. So take your time with it and pause and try it yourself. And I'm going to try to explain it as slowly as possible. So you're going to notice in this example we have brackets. And we've learned that whenever we have brackets, the first thing we need to do before we can move anything around is open up those brackets by using distributive property. So we are going to take this positive 2 and we are going to distribute it inside of this bracket. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to take the 3 and we're going to distribute that on this side to this bracket. And by doing distributive property, what we end up doing is we open up the brackets and then we are free to move around anything we want. Before we open up the brackets, though, if we kept the brackets as they were, you're actually not allowed to move anything. Okay, so I'm going to write this as 4 because nothing happens to that 4. 2 times x is going to give me 2x. And positive 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Then we move over to this side and distribute that 3 inside the bracket. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times positive 1 is positive 3. And then that negative 8 just stays where it is. So we have 3 terms on the left side and 3 terms on the right side. And our goal is to move everything with an x over to the left-hand side and everything with just a constant. We're going to try to move that over to the right-hand side. And when we move things over and they pass through the magic wall, we have to remember it's going to change the operation. So let's begin with our x's. We're going to take that 2x and you're going to keep it on this side. And as I do this question, I'm going to cross out the things that I have used just so you don't get confused. And then we have a +4, -6 on this side. Can't do anything with those yet. We have a 3x over here, and it needs to move over to the other side. This is +3x, so when I move it over, it's going to become -3x because it's going to change its operation, and now we're done with that. Now, on the right-hand side, we have a +3, that can stay right there, and we have a -8, that can stay right there. And now we need to move the +4 and the -6 over from the left-hand side. So this has a plus sign even though it's not written. When you move the +4 over, it's going to change its operation and become -4. So now we're done with that. And when we move the -6, it's going to change its operation and become +6. And now we're done with that. Now we have a whole bunch of terms, but we can add and subtract these and see what we get. So 2x minus 3x. This is different signs. When you have numbers with different signs, integer rules, you're going to subtract those numbers and take the sign of the bigger number. So 3 take away 2 is just a 1, and the sign in front of the bigger number is a negative. So this is going to give me -1x. And for this one, you can do it however you like. I just like to take 2 numbers, solve, and then move on. I'm going to do this all in one step, but if you want, you can pause the video over here and just try this part yourself and see what you get. So 3 take away 8 is -5. -5 minus 4 is -9. And -9 plus 6 is going to be -3. Okay, so we're almost done. It's a -1x. Technically, there's a number in front of the x, but we've never dealt with a -1. We still need to treat it just like any other number. To get rid of it, I have to divide both sides by -1, because that's the opposite operation to multiplication. -1 divided by -1 is just a whole number 1, and -3 divided by -1 is a +3. And that gives us our final answer.